All right, everyone. So it is now 7:05. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. So hi, my name is Danny Diaz. I am the Assistant Director of the Ozanam Scholars program. We have Dr. Chartrice Judson as our Director. We have Nico Andorosa as our Associate Director. And then we have Dr. Ann Galvin as our faculty research mentor, And then we also have our current three graduate assistants, Ariana Khan, Sydney Adahosa, and Michelle Senra. We can just go ahead and get started. Okay, so the Ozanam Scholars is built on three pillars, which is academia, service, and global citizenship. So what this involves is the developmental skills and research by studying and analyzing social challenges to propose solutions to create positive change, participate in community partnerships in the world around them and to advocate for those living on the margins, and to develop as global citizens through the exploration of different cultures and local, national, and international communities. And now I'm going to just go through the program elements. So during their first 4 years, Ozanam Scholars must maintain a 3.0 GPA, live in residence halls during their first year of the program, complete a social justice minor, which is 6 classes or 18 credits, complete service requirements, which are weekly service requirements, participate in various local, national, and international excursions, participate in all Ozanam Scholars Program events, attend mandatory meetings. They must study abroad during their sophomore year, either during their fall or spring semester, complete a capstone research project during their junior and senior years, adhere to the Student Code of Conduct and Guidelines, and scholars receive an initial award upwards of $10,000 renewable annually during their undergraduate years, provided they make continued progress in fulfilling the program requirements, which means that the scholarship will be broken up into $5,000 per semester. So this is a little bit of what the first year experience is. So these are some of our current first year Ozanam Scholars. So the academia part of it is there's the social justice minor course. There's 2 courses they must take in their first year, weekly Tuesday conference meetings, writing workshops, community-based research, Vincentian worldwide family, and social justice and service reflections. For Vincentian service, they are required to do weekly service along with reflections and a year-end trip. This year, they will be heading to Costa Rica to do research, on-the-ground research and working with communities. And for global citizenship, we attended the United Nations this past fall. They will be going to Germantown in the spring, and then for the year-end trip, again, they'll be doing Costa Rica. For our second years, so this is our current second year cohort. We just actually came back from our Vincentian Heritage Tour in Paris as of last week. So again, a lot of the academia, Vincentian service, and global citizenship is very similar to the first year experience. The only real difference is for Vincentian service, because they are required to go to Rome for their for either the fall or spring semester. They're required to do weekly service as well while studying abroad in Rome. And again, weekly reflections along with monthly reflection for their services. Excuse me. And then for the third year experience, again, academic scholarship, social justice minor courses, research month poster presentation, and that is really when they start getting into their research and going into communities and conducting research, either joining as a research assistant for a current faculty member on campus, as well as, or having the option of working with local community members to do research for those local organizations. And again, they follow the same weekly service, monthly reflection, and then in August, they actually head to Ecuador to work with local communities there to really immerse himself in research and experiencing different cultures and giving back to communities. And then for their fourth year, this is our current senior cohort. Again, academic scholarships, that includes the capstone presentations. There's research month, which are in March or April, and they will be giving an oral presentation on the research that they have done during their more or less last 2 years within the program. Again, monthly Tuesday conferences, and then they will also be attending an impact conference in Texas come February. And again, weekly service, monthly reflections, and the global citizenship aspect, which right now their excursion is the Impact Conference in Texas. Okay, and then this is just a little further background on the capstone research. So there's two options: work with a faculty member as a research assistant/mentee, or option two, conduct your own research process with the support of a faculty mentor. And we have a list of set faculty mentors that we will provide to students that they will choose from, and then conduct their research based on the professor's needs or what they want to specialize their research in. And then this is just some very quick information on how to, the requirements in order to apply to be an Ozanam Scholar prior to entering your first year at St. John's, as well as how to navigate and get to the actual application. So the application, applicants must have a B or better overall in high school. And entering their first year at St. John's University in the fall of 2024. Part of the application is you must answer 3 essay questions. You must provide a service and volunteer resume, essentially stating like the work and volunteer work that you have done throughout your tenure in high school, as well as providing any extracurricular activities that you may have been involved in. So sports, clubs, volunteering local churches, anything of that sort. And then to find the application, you can go to www.stjohns.edu. And then in the little search bar on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can search scholarships. It'll be the first hyperlink. Once you click that hyperlink, you will scroll all the way down and it will say, the second to last tab will say application scholarships. You'll click on that first hyperlink and then you scroll down a little bit further and it will give you the option to view the Ozanam Scholars, what it basically, the Ozanam Scholarship like entails, as well as accessing the application through your portal. The application, the last date to submit an application is going to be January 31st, 2024. Currently, we have right now one of our Ozanam Scholars here to kind of talk about like his experiences being in the Ozanam Scholars. So, Shamar, if you wanted to share a little bit.
Okay, so you hear me clearly? Just checking.
Here.
You good? Perfect. All right, so my name is Shamarik Edwards. I'm an Ozanam Scholar. I'm a third-year Ozanam Scholar. I'm originally from Jamaica. So for any international students in this meeting right now, yes, it's possible to get in the program, firstly. And that's something we also look for is the diversity in the applicant pool. So that's something you should definitely look into. In terms of my experience, again, I'm a third-year Ozanam Scholar, which means I've done, let's say, 3/4, if not most, of the program requirements and the things that the program offers. For example, in my freshman year, at the end of my freshman year, we went to Puerto Rico where we spent a week in this community that was ravaged by Hurricane Maria, which was a good experience. My first time visiting Puerto Rico, but it was also my first time doing the volunteering work that we did there. I didn't speak Spanish, which was a good experience as well because it challenged me in such a way that as an Ozanam scholar, you'll be placed in certain circumstances or situations where it will ask you to reinvent yourself in certain circumstances. And for me, going to Puerto Rico, for example, was one of those things. I didn't know how to speak Spanish, but at the same time, I was able to connect with these people from different backgrounds, different culture, while also sharing my own experiences as well, which was really an experience and something that I wish everyone could experience. And the most recent trip that we went on rather, was in Ecuador, which was for me last summer, which we spent a longer time, which was 2 weeks. And honestly, this was the best thing I've done in the program so far, in the sense that I got so much from that trip that I don't think I can quantify it in any way. And honestly, like going into the program, when I applied for the program, I knew about these excursions and all the other service opportunities that we do even during the semester. But it's one thing to know about it, but it's another thing to actually being able to experience these things. And honestly, being in college, you have so much things working on academically, and you want to build your career professionally. But doing service is another way to grow yourself pretty much, right? And that's something I never considered when I applied. But now when I'm in the program, that's something I almost like wish someone told me. And even though I'm experiencing a positive thing now, like I wish I knew that initially because I would have had even more enthusiasm going into the program. So definitely, if you're interested, first of all, in applying for the Ozanam Scholars Program, I think you should go at it. Like if you are someone who is looking to give back to the community while also learning about the different social injustices issues um, in society currently, this program is definitely for you, both academically and service wise. You learn so much, and that's why I would definitely endorse the program.
Awesome. So we have a couple of different types of questions. And so, sure, Sham, can you just talk a little bit about your experience in Ecuador in terms of working with the communities that you served and how the Ozanam scholars do that? So you did both Puerto Rico, you went to Puerto Rico. I believe you went to Rome. Did you go to Rome?
No,
Your study
no, I
abroad?
didn't get to go. Yeah,
Okay. But you would have studied abroad in Rome and then you went to Ecuador. So these experiences helped to shape a little bit of the scholarship. So can you talk a little bit about why that's just so important to your experience? I know you talked a little bit, but students are asking, prospective students are asking about that.
sure. So all three that you just mentioned, they're different in their own way. So firstly, Puerto Rico, again, now you're just coming off your first year of college. It's I think ours was 1 week. So that trip was more of like a taste, like to give you I would also I call it an appetizer type of thing, right? So a taste of what it is to do service outside of the United States, outside of your comfort zone. And so for me, that was just one of those things where we were only there for a week and we learned so much, but at the same time, it was more of preparing us for what was coming for the following years. Going abroad, studying abroad, again, that's another experience. I won't be able to speak much on that one, but in terms of what I do know about that program, that experience, of course, like going to Europe is a beautiful thing. Like everyone should be able to do that at some point. But just apart from that, we do service in Europe as well, and that again is another like mindset that you have to go in there with. And in terms of the Ecuador trip, that trip is more focused on research, which makes sense because you do that after your sophomore year, going into your junior year, and junior year is when you start doing your research, preparing for your research. And so Ecuador is kind of preparing you for your research coming into junior year. Some people, I have a few friends, end up doing their research based on what they did in Ecuador. So, for example, someone she did her research on how to like focusing on providing education during using virtual platforms and how you can improve that. And that was something I was interested in. And so reading her research was pretty insightful. And so that's something definitely I would look into. But again, Ecuador, in terms of the scholarship and the research, that was what that trip meant for me mostly. But again, apart from that, you learn so much. Honestly, you grow as a person. And for me, um, apart from the language barriers and so on, like you see the world in a different light. That's for me, like that's a different part of the world. You get to see how people appreciate things differently. And so when you come back to your own, like your home and your comfort zone type thing, you see the world differently, right? And so how you approach and how you think about things is different. And for me, like Osnam Scholars Program, that's the whole point of it, right? So we are focused on research, but we are also focused on growing the human person, right? And so these trips, quote unquote, aren't just trips. They're they're programs that are there to help you grow. And so for me, that's what I think those were best useful for. And that's why I would always recommend going on those trips if you have the opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing them. I could talk a little bit about like the European excursions that we have our students are required to do for study abroad. It is mandatory for all of our Ozanam scholars, but if there is circumstantial situations being unable to get a visa in time to study abroad in Rome, then there are exceptions that can be made. As well as regarding like certain majors. Not all majors are able to study abroad. So there are exceptions that will be made, and then there's work that can be done to be make up in order for missing up those study abroad experiences. We actually just came back from, I've mentioned it previously, we just came back from our Vincentian Heritage Tour. Those take place in August and January during the sophomore years for the Ozanam scholars. And then after they complete their Vincentian Heritage Tour, they fly over to Rome and begin their semester abroad. From what I've heard from our current sophomore cohort, the ones that have gone to Rome already, they think it is an exceptional experience, and they recommend that everybody, even if you are not part of the Ozanam Scholars Program, at least try to study abroad at some point during your tenure at St. John's University. Um, it allows for a lot of international travel throughout Europe. It focuses heavily on your cultural experiences dealing with individuals who do not have or may not have like the same cultural background as you. It gives you the opportunity to work closely with a lot of migrant and refugee communities while studying abroad in Rome, especially for our Ozanam scholars who are required to do weekly service. Excuse me. So in addition to doing service work, students are also required to do 3 in-person classes, a lot of which really kind of give the immersive experience of studying abroad in Italy, as well as 2 to 3, depending on your credit allowance, to do virtual classes. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about like what the Vincentian Heritage Tour is. So that is kind of like our historical analysis of Vincentianism. So St. John's University is a Vincentian university, so it is based heavily on St. Vincent de Paul, St. Louise de Marillac, and Frederick Ozanam, whom our program is named after, and kind of the impact that they have had on Paris and in France as a whole, as well as how their legacy continues here in New York and across the US and throughout other countries.
So,
Sorry, I'm just reading through some of your questions.
yeah, I was going to say, can you talk a little bit about? So, there's a lot of questions about GPA requirements and talking about, just if I have this type of GPA, this type of GPA. Can you guys talk a little bit about the scholarship and the importance of these types of grades for a program like this?
Sham, I'll let you talk a little bit about that. Do you have lived experience maintaining a certain GPA?
Of course. So, firstly, you're a student, right? And so GPA is one of those things that use to measure how well you're doing in school. And again, this is a scholarship program, and so there will be a requirement. And in this program, it's a 3.0 GPA, which in the grand scheme of things is pretty generous, I think, in my opinion. And so the point of that is the program isn't, they don't want to focus too much on GPA and grade. Like that's something you should be able to do as a student by yourself, regardless of if you're in a program or not. And so for this program, yes, you have to maintain a 3.0 GPA, and it's pretty strict in that sense because at the end of the day, you're selected from a large group of students because one, you demonstrate some academic excellence, and two, you have something else that those other students don't have. And so if you were accepted in the program because of that, you are expected to maintain it as well. And so that's one of the main requirements of the program. And again, that's why I think, in my opinion, it's pretty generous.
Thank you, Sham. So yeah, for our applicants, we highly encourage anybody and everybody to apply. It is highly recommended that you do have at least a minimum B GPA because it will help you maintain that once you get to college. But that is not an immediate disqualifier from applying to the program. The reason our application is broken up into so many different sections is because we want to get to know you as individuals and ensure that even if your GPA may not be the best, you're a good fit for the program and can maintain a 3.0 upon entering your first year of St. John's University. The course load for the social justice minor, it is not it's not extremely difficult from what like some of the students have shared with us. It's relatively easy to do. It's again, it's a minor. It's not. It's going to fit into your course schedule. We do have some classes that are remote during the summers or the winter courses that are mandatory for you to take. So that kind of lessens the course load during the semester, since some of them are required virtual options.
Some of the people are some of the our prospective students are asking about the different experiences that are offered that are like these different types of immersion experiences. So and that we don't necessarily get to choose where we go, but that you go with where the cohort goes. Sham, can you talk a little bit about kind of traveling with your cohort and what it kind of means in terms of community and building that relationship and looking at some of the systems and structures that we're asking our scholars to consider? How do we break down?
Sure. So before I get into that, the first thing is about building community, right? So freshman year, you have to live with each other, right? You live on the same dorm floor, which honestly is one of the best things the program's done. Coming into college, it's really, especially as a freshman, it's really daunting because you are worrying about, am I going to find my community? Am I going to make friends? And so from the first week, you're already on the same floor with Ozanam scholars, and these are people you're going to spend 4 years with, right? So you're going to make friends really quickly, and that's really helpful not just for the program, but for your life as a college student. Because immediately you're going to see people around campus that you already know within the first week of classes, which honestly is one of the best things you can feel because you already feel at home. In terms of the traveling, like yes, you probably want to travel with to other places, but traveling with your cohort is one of the best experiences. Again, um, it is really fun traveling on the flights, the hotels. Like apart from the service, of course, the service is really fun as well. But again, just to get to know your friends, these are people you know already, right? And you get to travel, go to other countries with them. And so you're building community. And again, for these people are going to be people you're going to know for your rest of your life, right? For your careers, especially. It's good to network. And so the best way to network, honestly, is to network with your friends first. And so this is a really good starting point. And so traveling with each other is one of the things that you'll come to enjoy as you go along. And you notice that you go on the first trip in after your freshman year, you go to Ecuador, like you know who you want to dorm with, who you can get along with more and so on. So those things you learn to build, and you actually make a lot of friends with this program very quickly. That's something I really think is really good about the program as well.
Sure. Some questions that I'm seeing in the chat are if you, one of the questions about the application and community service, if you have not done community service yet, do not add that to your application. We need to be able to see what volunteer experiences you have already done. Um, so if you haven't done those yet and you're not going to do those experiences prior to applying for the scholarship, I would say leave those off your application. There is no virtual option for classes unless they are over the summer. So all of these social justice minor courses are to be taken in person in the classroom, with the exception of one or two that are to be taken over the summer, either for one of the immersion trips or because it just fits better into everyone's schedule to have you take it during one of the summer sessions. The travel abroad cost, it is roughly the same. It's actually a little cheaper than the cost of tuition, including the cost of living on campus for 1 year. So that will be if students granted the scholarship can apply the scholarship to the cost of study abroad. And then the rest of the cost would be on the individual receiving the scholarship. So the duration of our stay at the different locations, it honestly varies. So again, Rome study abroad, that's an entire semester. So that's more or less 3 months that students will be abroad. The Ecuador trip, it's a little over 2 weeks. So it's 17 days that students are abroad doing research and community work with community members there. Costa Rica, I believe, is a 12-day excursion, and Sham, I think Puerto Rico was also about 12 days in the past.
Okay.
10 days.
10
Yes.
days.
Hmm.
So, Danny, you're going to be reading application students. So, what are some of the things that you would be looking for in students who are applying to Ozanam Scholars? And then, Shan, can you share maybe a little bit of the tidbits that you include in your application that made it shine and got you here?
Yeah. So for the application, we're going to be looking at several different things. So that includes your high school GPA, that includes any service or volunteer opportunities and how long you put, how long you were involved with these service opportunities for, as well as any extracurriculars that you may have been involved in, as well as evaluating your essays, your essay responses. Um, so yeah, so in the application, I'm not sure if any of you have started the application yet or have applied already. It is asked that you give us kind of like a resume breakdown for your application. There's going to be different portals where you can upload your written responses for the essay questions. There's going to be a tab where portal where you're able to drop your high school transcript, as well as if you've decided you declared your major or not. And those are all the different aspects to the application itself. Shan, do you want to share your experience?
Sure. I'm trying to remember exactly. It's been a while. um, but one of the things I really want to mention, and this is the first thing that came to mind, is the whole idea of putting your volunteering experience on it. Like honestly, quantity doesn't matter, right? It's a quality. So I remember when I was putting my volunteering experiences, I only had like three. And honestly, I was thinking about it, I'm like, damn, like this is not a lot, right? So how do I, bolster this or put more? But the truth is what I did was I just wrote about what I did. The truth is like I had really close connections to the service sites that I did in high school. And so I wrote exactly what I did and how passionate I was about what I was doing, right? And so I think that kind of shone through in my application because it was obvious that I actually did these things and I was really passionate about what I was doing. And so regardless of if I did four more or six more, like what that one thing did or those two, three things, like it showed that I was really passionate about what I was doing. And so that's the thing I would say as the biggest tip is don't worry about if you're putting a lot. Just put what you're actually doing and show that you actually love or you are appreciated for what you were doing as well. And show that you're passionate, right? So that's the whole point of the program. We want to see that if when you go on these excursions and when you're doing the weekly services, you're going to put your all into it, right? This is not just a laid back thing. You're not just doing it for your resume. These are things that you actually are passionate about and you want to change what you're doing. And so if you're doing you're working at your church, for example, and there must be a reason why you're doing it. Show that why you're doing it, and not just show why you're doing it. Show how what you did has impacted, whosoever you're serving. And so that's definitely something I would say is a big tip when you're, submitting your application.
Thanks. I would also just want to add to that when part of the goal of this program, I don't know if Danny, if you could flip back to that slide, but we really, really, truly believe in this, and we want our applicants to think about this. We want you to develop research skills. We want you to be able to be social change agents. We want you to recognize the importance of community partners and being a part of the change in the world and for the world and help to develop you as global citizens. And if these are all kind of moments that you or aspects that you identify with, that's what we want to see. And that's what we're hoping when our Ozanam scholars graduate, that they come to understand. We're always super excited to listen, to discuss. Higher education is really going to stretch you in some amazing ways. And at St. John's University, as an Ozanam scholar, you will be stretched and called and pulled. And so, like Sham said, share that because that's what we want our students to be, and the best in the world and for the world. Um, yes, you will find out. Somebody just asked if you got in accepted or not. One of the we will if once you apply, you'll get an interview offer, or you didn't move forward in the process, and then from after the interview, you'll be told whether you got accepted or didn't get accepted.
I do want to add that I think the great thing about being an Ozanam scholar is just the sense of community that you get from being an Ozanam scholar. Like Shem had said, living together with your cohort your first year, it really kind of goes a long way. And then going back to the application process, we look for individuals who want to be part of making a difference, being social justice advocate, and investing themselves into research, into communities, and working their way towards just making a better future for not only themselves but the people that they're serving. Um, excuse me. So that's why we really like to harp on the three pillars that like the Ozanam scholars like stand on, just like Angela was saying. Like we want to focus on academia, we want to focus on service, we want to focus on global citizenship because we want to choose students that are going to want to make a difference in the communities that they're serving and giving back to.
I'm actually gonna put both of you on the spotlight. So Danny's a new employee at the university. She's been here about 7 months. So can you tell us what your favorite part about St. John's University? So while we're totally selling the Ozanam Scholars Program, you're also an Ozanam Scholar at St. John's. So as somebody who works here, what is your favorite thing about working at St. John's with the Ozanam Scholars? And Sham, can you tell us what your most favorite experience at St. John's has been?
Yeah. Honestly, I adore just how welcoming and warm St. John's has been since I became a Johnny, basically. So everyone is always so reliable. There's a great sense of community from everywhere, not just from my colleagues, but even from like the Ozanam scholars themselves. When I first started, some of the students would come in and out of the office during the summer and they would come up to me, introduce themselves, and that's how you start to build and develop these relationships. I'm still slowly but surely getting to know many of the Ozanam scholars, but the ones that I have interacted with, the students that I went to the Paris with this past week, everyone is just so amazing and it is just so inspiring and has me in awe constantly to see students involved in Ozanam scholars that are human rights advocates, social justice advocates, and are really just trying to be part of something that's bigger than themselves, bigger than their communities, and just like striving to make changes that are going to have a lasting impact.
Hmm, that's good. It's hard to go after that one. uh, for me, honestly, it's really difficult. Honestly, it's really difficult to pick out one situation. So I'm gonna be very like a politician now and just say the overall thing for me is just I was able to be myself, right? So I was leaving home for the first time coming to college, and I wasn't say I was scared, but I did not have a clue what to expect. Right? I was coming, I was gonna live on campus, I'm gonna be around people I've never met before. And that was really scary, right? So coming to college, living on the same floor with the Ozanam scholars, for me, that was one of the most poignant points of my career, academic career especially, because it showed me that there are people from different backgrounds, but we all can share something with each other, right? And that's what being human is. And so for me, like St. John's itself, it's just a small knit community. Like within that big community, a very small community rather, there are really smaller communities that you can find, your niche type thing in. And so for me personally, I've grown so much since freshman year, since I've walked through those gates. Like I don't even recognize that person anymore, honestly, right? So I've grown so much, I've seen so much, and I don't think I would be the same person if I didn't go to St. John's, obviously. But at the same time, it's just like I got more than I bargained for, and I still have a year left in St. John's, right? So for me, the best thing about St. John's, it's the people. Very cliche, but it's true. It is definitely people, and I'm a part of that too. So hopefully, if you do come to St. John's, we'll see each other on campus, and I can prove that to you.
Thanks, Sham. See, you said mine was hard to follow up with.
Sham, can I ask you, what is the best thing that you've liked about being a social justice minor? What have you learned? What have you gained from adding that to your degree? Actually, can you share what your degree is, so that everyone knows that, if you don't mind sharing that?
Of
And then
course.
how the social justice minor has supported it.
Okay, sure. So, I'm a business analytics major, and I'm double minoring in finance and social justice theory. Now that's a mouthful, right? It sounds like a lot. And for my other peers, like they'll be doing government and politics and social justice theory, and it sounds good together. Whereas a finance minor and a business analytics, they're like, why are you doing a social justice theory, right? But I'll say first before I go into the minor itself, like in terms of my career path, like especially in interviews and I'm applying. First of all, I want to work on Wall Street in the future. Let's get that in. But I'm applying for jobs and internships and etc. People always look at me weird. Why did you do a social justice minor, right? But the main thing is it's a great talking point in interviews, right? Because everyone else there, they're going to talk about finance. But for me, I can talk about something completely different that I'm really passionate about, which is really helpful for getting internships and jobs. In terms of the minor itself, honestly, it is a beautiful thing. Firstly, you have to take 6 classes, but I would like to say that most of those classes overlap with most of your core classes as well. So the workload isn't as daunting as it might seem. As and Danny said, most of the 2 of those classes I think you take during the summer as well. But for me, my favorite social justice class so far has been the economics, poverty and inequality class, because that just opened my eyes to so many different things as to what inequality looks like and poverty looks like, and the fact that it's relative to different places and different demographics. And so for me, like seeing that, my plan is to hopefully apply that to my research. And again, as I said, I'm a business analytics major, so my research is going to be around analytics, and that's one of the beautiful things about the research aspect of the program as well, is that you're not bounded to one specific thing. And so for me, like you can tie your research with your major, right? Which is beautiful because that way you can blend both of your passions, so to speak, together. And so the minor itself is helpful in facilitating your research, as well as your major as well can help in that regard. So for me, yeah, those that class was definitely my favorite, and also the seminar class that you have to take as well. That class is more of a conference type course, so to speak. So there's not a lot of essays or things that you have to do for homework assignments. It's more of you come to class and you talk about what's happening in the world and how you can fix it. And you do little projects that you can help to change the world, right? And so that's for me, the minor itself, it didn't feel like an academic burden at all. Honestly, it felt like something you could use to fulfill your life goals. And that's how I viewed it, right? I didn't see it as, oh, I have to take another course. I saw it as another experience that I can learn about something else that I can help change how I see the world and how possibly I can change the world. So that's why I think the minor is really helpful.
Thanks so much, Sham. Do we have any other questions? I know were a lot of questions about living on campus. So yes, living on campus for first year is a requirement. That's just an important part. I know Sham spoke to living and being able to be connected to your friends. Study abroad is a requirement. The cost of the experiences, these transformational experiences, are covered by the scholarship program. And to recognize that while this is a scholarship, there are some components to the scholarship that our scholars are required to participate in. So Sham is just getting ready to head into his research and working alongside a faculty member to look at some of the realities of poverty and social injustice in our world. So to know that there are some work pieces, but there are also some beautiful opportunities to be connected for the program. If you get accepted to the Ozanam program, obviously, these are one of the questions. You can obviously decide not to accept the scholarship. However, just so you know, once you take a spot of a student, once you leave the program, we can't accept another student into the program in sophomore or junior year. So
I would also like to just encourage that any of you who are not like US based still apply for the scholarship. We have so many international students who are Ozanam scholars, and the like some students may not get approved for a visa to go to certain places, but there are opportunities in the future to travel to Paris or study abroad in another semester if possible. So again, if you're interested, please apply. We will look at everyone's scholarships equally, everyone's applications equally, and just decide who we think is really like encompassing of the who Frederick Ozanam was and how to carry on his legacy by through doing work with the Ozanam scholars. The amount of, sorry, I'm looking at the questions. The amount of individuals that are interviewed is going to be based on the application process itself. So we will have to go through all the applications, and then depending on how many we think are a good fit for the program, then we'll move forward with the interview process. But it's not like a set number below 25 that will be getting interviewed.
But if you don't, you can't get considered.
Yes, please ensure that while applying, it is in your best interest to make sure that you have already been accepted as St. John's University students for the fall 2024 semester. This just kind of gives you like a better chance of making sure that your application is going to be viewed by us once the application closes on January 31st.
Danny, just a little bit of caveat. So they can apply for both, but they wouldn't be able to accept the scholarship if they don't get accepted. So it's not like a scholarship too, just so they know. It's not a scholarship you can take with you to another university. It's a St. John's University scholarship.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions, or maybe a question that we might have missed in the chat or didn't get the chance to answer? The number of students selected to be interviewed varies based on the applications themselves. On average, we accept 25 students for the Ozanam Scholars Program. So it's based on that, essentially.
Yeah, it looks like there's just one other person typing. Mm-hmm.
For students who participate in the Vincentian Heritage Tour, we stay on the Paris campus. We have a campus in Paris, we have a campus in Rome. So again, students who are studying abroad in Rome will also be staying on the campus over there. For students doing service trips, the lodging for those, it varies, depends on availability and where it is that we will be traveling.
Yeah, I raised my hand. I thought I was in class. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, and the last question about the conditions. It's safe. It's clean. It's safe. You have nothing to worry about. We're staying in a hotel for in the Puerto Rico trip. We stayed in a really nice hotel with a pool. It's really nice. You have nothing to worry about. Like once you go on these trips, you're well taken care of. You don't have to worry too much about about food and so on. Like sometimes if you want to go out and get extra food, like that's on you, right? And even then, you're given a stipend as well, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. But in terms of safety and um, how comfortable you are, you'll be fine. That's definitely something you don't have to worry about. The program definitely takes care of us. That's why I'm still here. Yeah.
For students with dietary restrictions, those are always taken into consideration, even during our mandatory meetings. We try to ensure that no matter what, we are meeting the needs of our students, whether it's abroad or on campus. So things of dietary restrictions, allergies, anything of that sort, it's always taken into consideration and handled very carefully.
Yeah, so I'll just say one thing. I think we're wrapping up now before we go. Um, so one thing to plug the program again, right? So my thing is, if you want to come to college and get more than just a degree, this is a program for you, right? College can sometimes be a little bit too structured in the sense that you come to classes, you leave, you come to classes, you leave, you have a club that you go. But honestly, there's so much more that you can take from this experience from these 4 years. And I think Ozanam Scholars Program is definitely one of those opportunities that you should definitely jump on because you get exposed to so many other different things that I don't think the university elsewhere, any other university or any other program in the university in St. John's offers, right? So this program is definitely that way of engaging in different things besides just academics. You come here, you get your academics, you get your degree, you get a good job. But when you look back, what else did you get from college, right? And so for me, I can look back and see so many other things that I was able to be a part of, and those things are as a result of being in this program, right? And so I'll definitely say one last time, if you haven't applied, definitely apply. And if you're an international student like I was, give it a shot. Honestly, I was really scared about it too, because I wasn't sure if I could get in or if I would be overlooked. But the truth is, it was just as like all my other peers. I asked them as well when I came if it was the same thing, and it was. So you have nothing to worry about. If you're competent and you believe in what you do, and if your application is good enough, then you'll be considered. That's just the end of it.
Yeah. The scholarship link should be available on the scholarship page on the St. John's website. You'll just have to scroll down and it'll send you to the student portal, and through that student portal, you should be able to access the application.
And then there's another question about if you need a laptop. Gillian, I don't, or one of our admissions counselors that are on, I'm not sure if you can answer that question. I'm not sure what the university provides, if there was, but we can try to get that answer to you if someone can answer that. I don't want to speak to it. I just don't have that answer, but we will surely get that answer for you.
I believe IT services does offer rentals, but I don't know like if they're long-term rentals or if it's short-term for like a day or so. So
I can speak on that slightly. So last semester, there are laptops that you can rent both PC and Mac for up to 3 hours. And there are also ones that you can sign up with IT. I think it's over maybe a couple of days that you can rent it, and obviously you bring it in and you can renew that as well. So the university tries to make things accessible, especially the laptops. There's a lot of computers around campus, like the library has computers, like a lot that people don't ever use. So if you need access to certain laptops or a computer, there's accommodations available for you. So that's something I wouldn't worry about too much. I understand that sometimes it can be expensive, but again, the university tries its best to accommodate all students. So you don't have to worry about that at all.
So if you guys don't have any more questions, then I believe that we can start wrapping up. Again, thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight, asking all your questions. I hope our responses were informative and gave you the information that you really wanted to know. Again, please apply, no matter where in the world you are. Apply to the scholarship. Everyone's given an equal opportunity to be accepted into the program. Um, yeah, thank you all. Thank you so much for sharing, Sham. And thank you, Angela, for moderating.
Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good night. I'm going to end the stream now.
Oh, somebody just answered, Christopher. Somebody just answered. I just joined and I have a few questions. Several people are typing.
Yep. Yeah, Christopher, if you want to send your questions along, then we can try to answer them to the best of our abilities quickly. Yeah, I can share the presentation with.
Yep. They will with all attendees. Yep.
If you have any questions that you think are pertinent, then you can ask them in the chat now. But just keep in mind we're wrapping up about roughly 8 o'clock the presentation. Well, thank you so much, Jillian and Corinne, for setting everything up. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone who joined us tonight. Please apply, and the recording for this session can be shared out. All right, Angela, I'm gonna end the stream now.
Sounds good.